Is Dark and Darker dying? Are streamers ruining the game? Is the community killing the game? Or is it because the devs don't know what they want to do? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, my name is Scorm. I've been playing Dark and Darker since playtest 2 or 3. Rangers had infinite arrows. They never had to reload. Rogues could hit for 250 damage. Everybody was having a good time. Nobody knew what a buff ball was. Since then, we've gone through many iterations of the game with a lot of changes. New classes, new perks, new weapons, new spells, new maps, new game modes, so on, so forth. I'm going to give you guys a little summary about what I'm going to talk about in the video today, and then we'll go through it all. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the huge shift in player sentiment towards the game and the devs. The next thing is going to be Iron Mace's approach to patching and updates for the game, gear and loot progression, why players are quitting the game so rapidly, and then finally the future of the game. Right now, the community reminds me a lot of the Tarkov community. I played Tarkov since 2019. This was right when they introduced, this is the wipe when they introduced the found and raid system. There was no customs expansion. The wait system was introduced the wipe before I started playing. Many wipes ago. And I've been able to watch the Tarkov community change from what it was when I started playing to the absolute toxic pool of hate and complaining in division that community is in now. And I see the same thing happening with Dark and Darker, unfortunately. And I think it's due to some of the bullet points I mentioned previously in the summary of the video. But one of the main things that I think is attributing to this negative player sentiment towards the devs in the game, all the community turning on the devs basically, is because it seems as if the devs they don't know what direction the game is going in, and the drastic weekly changes to the game I think is affecting the players, because they're playing every week. We're playing a largely new version of the game almost, which is fine. I think overall that's okay, but I think it turns off a lot of people because they get used to playing Dark and Darker version A, and then in 5 weeks they're playing Dark and Darker version 47. We went from letters to numbers. You know what I'm saying? It's the iterations of the game happen so fast and so often that I think it leaves players wondering, like, what kind of game am I even playing? Which again, overall, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but we'll also get into that in a minute. Another thing is the metas that are still prevalent with the unsuccessful attempts of nerfing them. I think people are a little tired of getting ran down by buff balls. Before the buff ball, it was the PDR Fighter, right? So the PDR Fighter ruled the lands since playtest 3 or maybe playtest 4, all the way up until like maybe a little bit after early access came out, and then it switched to the buff ball. A lot of things have been being changed by the devs: gear, perks, skills, weapon damage outputs, values, stuff like that. And people have been asking for some of that, but what people are really asking for is to nerf the buff ball and nerf the PDR Fighter. And with the most recent patch, it just made the buff ball in the PDR Fighter even stronger because, well, not the most recent patch, but hotfix number 18, when they reduced weapon damage on everything across everything. So now, like I said, overall, the way that the devs are bringing in updates and patches to the game, I think overall is okay, or a good thing actually, because it shows that they're collecting data, analyzing the data, and then they're making decisions based on that data, and they're making the changes. So it might not be the changes we want, but it's the changes they deem fit to make. And overall, it is their game to make the changes in, they have every right to do that. I'm going to move on to gear and loot progression. My opinion, a few weeks ago we had the best gear progression in the game when there was super buffed gear, great rolls, lots of money, like big economy flowing through the game. Every fight that you won, you were rewarded for it because everybody had good gear, in my opinion, and it made PvP meaningful. And with the current gear system, the PvP is pretty meaningless because all the gear just feels bad. Something has 2 strength, 4 armor rating, and some move speed, like that's best in slot now, which is sad. It's really boring for me at least. But also, I don't think the devs took into consideration the previous nerfs to perks and skills with the gear attribute changes. Rogues truly are useless. They're a little bit better now because of the recent damage increase that happened like 5 days ago. But also you have to like really stack strength as your main attribute, or else they're still worthless, and that's pretty boring. There's the gear stat changes really limit the viability of different builds for different classes, which then brings down the diversity, which then brings down the replayability, which makes everything boring and stale and will lead to players moving on to something else. I'm hoping that with the new wipe coming up this month, they'll either buff some of the perks and skills or alter the stats on the gear again, because right now, my ranger's not hitting for a lot. I was hitting for 140 at the end of last wipe. Rogue's not hitting for anything. Rogue was hitting for 130, I don't want to play PDR Fighter, but I don't want to play Barbarian. It is what it is, though, I guess. But characters just don't feel strong right now. They don't feel very impactful, in my opinion. So we'll move on to the next thing. Why are players quitting? People are quitting the game because, one, they know there's a big content patch coming up this wipe. And then it's that can happen in 7 or 10 days. They said mid-November, so we're about to be in mid-November. This wipe was only about 3 weeks or a month long, which it wipes. And additionally, I think people are quitting because the same meta comp has been unsuccessfully nerfed. People are tired of getting rolled by it again. Unfortunately, they also nerfed some of the only hard counters to buff ball, which was, Ranger's damage output combined with Earthquake via the Cleric. Now Cleric only gets 1 use, and I think they've reduced Earthquake damage, so like Barbs can literally just walk through it and get healed, so feels bad. A lot of people play this game solo, and the teaming that was going on was pretty fucking bad. Ruined it for a lot of people. So that sucks for them. I get that. And then also the lack of loot diversity and build availability due to the gear nerf, I think, is making a lot of people unmotivated to play the game, to find good loot, because there isn't any really. I'm bored. A lot of other people are bored and frustrated, and there's no real progress in the game. The only progress that there was in the game was upgrading your gear, your loot. But if all the gear feels bad, why? There's no point to it. And that's really going to hurt the player base, especially when that's the only way you can progress in the game right now, is with gear. And now finally, the future of the game. I think the future of the game is bright. I don't think the game's going to die or anything like that. I think it's going to be completely fine. We are only a few months out of early access release. The devs are working and making changes all the time, which is good, even if it's not the exact ones we want to see. We can tell they're still working on the game and trying to make it the way they want to make it, which is good. Overall, I think the game will end up being fun and successful, especially when Steam release happens. Again, a lot of new life will be brought into the game. I'm really excited for the new wipe with the new content coming up. Well, that's all I got for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you guys think. If you want other Dark and Darker content to be covered, please let me know. I plan on doing more. Yeah, like, sub, comment, fucking see ya.